here. Uh, so if you want to unmute yourself,
Mm-hmm.
feel free to unmute yourself as well. So this is an open-ended conversation that you are recording it. So let's actually get started. So yeah, thanks for joining us, Mayank.
Yeah,
It's a pleasure having you here on the podcast. It's been a while since we did the last one, so this is going to be exciting. So yeah, let's start with your journey. Actually, do you wanna tell me about yourself and how about your consulting firm a little bit?
sure. So I guess like I'll just start with my intro.
Mm-hmm.
I
Yeah.
come from a very small town here in India. It's in the Araulis in Nimrana. And from here, I think in around 2020, I graduated from IIT Bombay. And after that, I started to work in data science consulting. So my first company, it was Sutra Management Consulting. It's a company specialized in BFSI domain, and their main clientele is in the UAE and Southeast Asia geography. So that is from where I started into consulting. With that company, I was primarily like working on ETL automation, CXO level dashboard, those type of projects. And after that, I joined EXL, which is a global firm for data science consulting. And there I was for around 2.5 to 3 years. So that was my tenure there, and it was really the more defining tenure for my career, because that is where I got involved into more advanced type of things with respect to like the projects as well. So there I was primarily like working with BFSI clients only, but they were based out of US, and we were doing credit risk modeling, some projects related to marketing, fraud, and anti-money laundering as well. And by the time when I was there, I also like got involved more into my own little consulting practice as well, and started to get like more in depth into data science. That is when I started to publish a newsletter. So the consulting company which I will talk about was with EXL. I started this newsletter, and the very first editions they were focused on to explaining machine learning models, explaining how different algorithms work, what the dependencies are. So I explained around 75 different algos in 75 different posts. That's and after that, I wanted to what more great opportunity I can explore for my career, and that is when I realized that I can build a consulting practice
I think I lost you again.
because that is where most of my experience
Uh,
has been. And yeah, so that's been like my journey. Hmm. Yeah,
yeah, sorry, I lost you in the
that's been
midway.
like more journey so far. Can you hear me?
No, I lost
Uh,
you midway somewhere, and then you were back again. I think you're back again now. Uh,
okay.
oh, okay. So, what did you graduate in? So you said you graduated from IIT. What did you study?
There I studied aerospace engineering. That was a
Oh, cool.
very like passionate type of branch at that time. For there's a branch I chose, and but the job in which I got started into, and even in like college, the career that I want to build in that was more in data science, big data, because that was the
Interesting.
best field to get into at that time. Yeah.
Okay, so you were studying something else, but you ended up doing internships and something else. How was that
Yep.
transition? Was it easy to make that transition? I'm guessing this was many years ago, right? When like sort of data science was new and like not many people were aware of the field because it was just getting started, and so I guess it was easy for you to transition into that field.
Yeah, it was quite easy, and in fact, like how I got a data science job, because initially when I was in college, I was working on a side project, and that side project that
Mm-hmm.
involved using analysis of data. And we published a sort of a that was a booklet. At that time we thought that we are publishing like a full-fledged book, but we can more call it like a booklet. It was like a 130-page
Right.
document, which yeah, and that document was it basically contained crop patterns and certain other like social things that were going on in India. So I
Mm-hmm.
showcased that in my resume and went for the interview. And I was very fortunate that
Mm-hmm.
the director of farm, Abhishek, and Sarwan Portnes from Sutra, they selected for that role. And that's how I
Mm-hmm.
got started. And basically, to tell you about the transitioning process, it was quite good, because Sutra Management, it's a small company, and the benefit you get with a small company is that you get a accelerated sort of learning curve, right? So it's like up to you. You're the project. Is just a very small team doing the project, and you have to pick up
Mm-hmm.
all the parts to be good at the job. So that's how, yeah, it was
Cool.
fun and was easy too.
Mm-hmm. Right. Yeah. And then how did you, so very first job, because you didn't have a, um, what do you say, a background in computer science, I'm guessing a lot of programming and all that stuff, you picked it up along the way, like you're a self-taught data scientist, I'm guessing. So how easy was it on your first job to actually work on a project, and were you a little bit nervous about, how you're gonna do it?
Yeah, it wasn't easy. I'll tell you like the whole story. Basically, that was a COVID duration when I got started with my career. It was 2020, and at the
Mm,
time, I was supposed to join the company in the April or May month, but that got delayed to around August. And that is when I actually started to learn. So I completed my SAS certification. So SAS, I think if some people would not know, SAS is a very well-known platform for data science.
mm,
And all of the like big data companies, almost everyone has some kind of SAS access. And there I got my certification. So that was the introduction into programming, how we do SQL, how we write SAS program to do different kind of data analysis. So it was like around 3 to 4 months of my self study that I did prior to starting my first job. So that really helped me in the job. And then the colleagues that who were there in the job, they were also like very knowledgeable, very supportive type of people. And it was like a very hands-on environment. So it was, I would say, like accelerated learning. Only that has been like a benefit to my career. But yeah,
mm.
more or less it's like a self-learned, self-taught in that way only.
Right. And so I never worked in a consulting firm ever before. Like even right now, I work for a big retailer. So for me, my clients are people within the company, right? So I work with supply, I work with finance, marketing. How different is it to work in a consulting firm? And also, is there any benefit working in consulting firm versus working somewhere else and in big retailers?
Yes, I can answer your question, because like very recently I had experience with the
Mm,
in-house team as well, where it was like out of consulting domain, that was a in-house experience. And to comment like basically about consulting, my role there, it was not just primarily consulting. What people generally understand by consulting is that there is more strategic problem solving only, that there is some presentation on only that is involved. But in our case, it was a real hands-on project. It is like the project was outsourced, and we were like basically doing the presentation as well, doing the project as well. So it was completely hands-on. We were so it was like a project and consulting combined. And to comment on your question about if there's any like benefit or what kind of difference this is, so consulting, it's a high moving field, as in the expectations are much higher. In a like in-house team, you have your managers, you have everyone just supporting you. and they are they are the final people. But in case of consulting, in our manager, even they are not the final people. Final person
Mm-hmm.
is like the client whom we are working with, and all of the
Okay.
in-house team. That's like a unit in itself. There's no like a hierarchy that okay,
Mm-hmm.
the manager if we are satisfied, we are good. No, it's the client and also it's a little, I would say, there are some more added dimensions to the job, which are more related to project management, which are say client management and those type of responsibilities as well. But yeah, otherwise it's more or less the same kind of thing that we are working on: data science, solving the business problem, understanding like the data and getting insights. More or less the same.
Mm-hmm. I lost you again. Okay, you're back.
I think the network at least is good that I can see. Hmm.
Yeah, no,
Yep, I can hear you
okay.
constantly.
Yeah, no, I kept losing you in the midway for some reason. Okay, now I can see you're back. Okay. You can still hear me?
Yep, I do.
Okay, cool. Okay. Um, so another thing I want to ask you about the consulting is, so this is something like during my early days, this is something that I faced, because when you work, when you start working in a companies, either if you come from a business background, then it's easy to translate, what stakeholders are asking for, right? But if you don't come from that business background, and if you come from a technical background, it's usually not that easy to translate their the the business problem into a data science problem, right? So when you work in a consulting firm, because you said there's no hierarchy, there's no managers or whatsoever. Um, how easy was it to translate what the stakeholders asking for versus what is it that you're providing?
Yeah, that actually adds up to a difference as well, because say in a consulting type of environment, this type of thing, it is like pre-decided, as in like there's the very initial phase of process. It is called as the scoping process, right? So we do scoping of the problem. We have to first of all clearly define the problem and the solutions that we are going to work on, at least the outline of it. And only
Mm-hmm,
once those type of things are defined do we get a mandate from the client that okay, this is something we will go ahead with. So like basically the translation process that happens in a regular type of say in-house job, there is a more back and forth process that okay, this is a constantly moving process. But in case of consulting, it's we do it initially as part of the scoping and part of like the solution and the solution proposition itself. So
mm-hmm,
initially, it requires much effort. We do industry studies. We do like what other people have tried on, and these type of things already help. But
mm-hmm,
this type of challenge, it does not hit us back again, but because that has already been worked upon.
mm-hmm. Right. And then I'm guessing you guys build out a MVP product to start with, not a full-fledged product, right? For the client.
Yes, yes. So usually we have to work in a very agile type of
Mm-hmm,
situation. It's not that okay, this is what we are going to do. Very initially the expectations are not much higher. But if say the 10% or even like 15-20%, if that much time is passed, we have to show that okay, we are getting closure. So yeah,
mm-hmm,
initially every the we get to see the very initial final solution quite early on.
yeah, there you go. Get back. So Umbral, I can see you joined here. Feel free to ask questions. It's a open-ended conversation, so you can unmute yourself or you can put in the chat. Um, Otherwise, meanwhile, I'll be keep asking questions. Um, that's good to know about the consulting journey and how things actually work in consulting firms. So coming back to let's start with data science today, and how data science is today. So given how things change in the data world pretty rapidly, like LLMs, we now have LLMs, and a lot of people are focusing on LLMs. Um, what do you think is the right thing to do for someone who's getting started in the data science field? Jump right away on LLMs, or should they focus on the foundations first? Something that used to exist before, something that people used to focus on before LLMs. Um, what's your advice?
Yeah. So, what I would say, like a very practical advice, I'll come to like yeah, I think that specific type of question also, but very practical advice if I have to give, I think like data science since it has become large enough, this is also more becoming like a
Mhm,
software type of thing now. That's why I would and people I say this to other people whom I coach as well. I tell them that first of all prepare for a job. If you're coming to data science, any type of experience that you're going that you're going to get, it's largely you're going to get that experience mostly from the job, because you see like you whenever we talk about like data science, there are two parts of it. One is if you know how to do some kind of tool, if you can do like SQL programming, if you can do Python programming, but the larger part is the application of these tools, right? So, and those applications and that understanding about what kind of issues come up with any data analysis, and why this analysis would be wrong in different type of scenarios, those type of nuts and bolt, very granular type of thing you get to learn in a job only. So very practical advice if I have to give someone would be that prepare for the interview, prepare for the job, and once you're in the job there will be requirements, and then you can like build up onto the skill. But again, like reflecting back onto your larger question about, say, if someone is just starting up, what kind of thing they should start with, the type of thing that they need to pick up with is, I think, like very broader understanding. First of all, like what all pieces do we have? So in general, we have the large language model available only now, but even prior to that, there is the statistics component to it, where you need to understand what different type of numbers mean, and what type of what any statistic would mean, and in what type of scenario we would do different type of statistical calculation. So statistics is a major component of it, and then also understanding the prediction, how different type of prediction algorithms work, just at least at a broader overview, that okay, this is the difference between ensemble, this is the difference between deep learning.
mhm,
Understanding like that broader spectrum. Once you just understand that broader spectrum, and you start to apply for job and you get a job, that is when you can, I think, build a much more specialized type of career in either of the thing.
mhm. Yeah, yeah. It's good that you mentioned software engineering, right? A lot of people, because a lot of people are self-taught data scientists, they don't have a formal training into coding or the principles that software engineers follow, right? And so they lose upon the best practices that one needs to follow and the importance and the value of it, right? When it comes to your organization, right? So do you want to talk a little bit more about that, like why software engineering principles or following best practices is very valuable as part of a team or as part of an organization? Can you still hear me? Are you back? Yeah, it looks like we're having a little bit of network issue here.
He, sorry, Mithul, I lost you for a couple minutes.
All good. You're back now.
Yep, you're back.
Okay.
Yep,
Do you want me to repeat the question?
yep, sure.
Okay. So
So,
yeah, I was talking about.
mhm.
You heard the question, or do you want me to repeat the question?
Yeah, I guess you were asking about like, people who are into software, they are more prepared for the best practices. And the people who come in data science, they don't have much of a formal training.
Mm-hmm.
So around that
Yeah.
topic, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and this is a challenge that I personally have also seen. Like, we're giving very when we were working into the project initially, it is like a haphazard. Everything you see that people talk about data quality so much, and data quality is just so much a function of people not following the best practices, right? If you just follow the usual best practices, that okay, you need to see the lineage, you need to see that the distributions are matching, the counts are matching. And if you just follow through on those, if all of the people follow through on those best practices, then data quality won't be that bigger of a issue to be discussed. But again, this is a real type of issue. I don't know like what is a solution to this. I think a very recent practice what I came to learn about is a specification that has been launched. It's called data developer platform, DDP specification. And it is much like the software specification, wherein software engineers, they have that okay, these are the
Mm-hmm.
basic type of things that we definitely need to have, right? Like version control, documentation, and writing proper comments. These are the very basic things that software engineers, all of them, agree with. So around that area, I've
Mm-hmm.
seen a very good, I think you can also look across, and other people can also look across. That is a very good development, very good document that I seen around. It's called Data Developer Platform Specification. And I think like if that is just a 5 pages, 6 pages of a document, and if people do follow that kind of thing, that would really be good. But it's a challenge.
Mm-hmm.
I see it. It's I and it's a bit like that. You can't do much about it all of the time, because you have to work on the problem as well.
Yeah. Yeah. No, data quality is something. I think yeah, a lot of people don't think about unless you're like a senior in your team or a lead. Right? People look at the data and they right away they jump on it, trying to do ML and all that stuff because that is exciting part, right? Who wants to deal with messy data? Who wants to fix and find the right source of data? Right? It's a boring job. But yeah, that is something that I think it's a very big issue. Like we ran into that recently, um, because data engineers are the ones who deal with that, right? But every single time that they change something, you need to be in a constant communication with them, or at least follow what's really happening in your organization when it comes to data, right? And then what happens is they made some changes, but you were not aware of the changes, and you're continuing to use that data, thinking like, okay, you know what, the data hasn't changed much, everything is still the same. But at the end of the day, you're providing wrong solutions to the stakeholders, right? And then they are making wrong decisions, right? So that's a big red flag right there, right? Um, and that's
Yeah.
what I faced. Like recently, I faced one of the like big issues we had in Decathlon was we have the sales data, but we were, initially we used to have returns in the data, but now we don't have a return. And then there's certain date range after which the returns were not included. or if people return the product, it's sometimes counted as cancel or return. So there's a lot of, misinformation, right? That you can
Yep.
only figure out by talking to people like data engineer, right? So having that cross collaboration with across the teams, I think that is something that people should learn or should be aware of and not just jump right into the problem, right? Um,
Yep. And
so how do
one
you
more
how?
point
Mhm,
to, yeah, one more point to like add into this conversation is what from my experience also. So oftentimes, like when we're working, in predictive type of modeling, or when you're doing say LLM, where this the
mhm,
business is not matching much compared to when we do analytics. So when we do analytics,
mhm.
all the business logic matters much. Say in your case of example,
Exactly.
if it only contains the sales data and not the
Yeah.
return data, it will change whole lot many things with respect to the business logic, right?
Exactly.
So
Yeah. Mhm,
specifically like about the analytics part of the data job, people often face so much challenge just to understand that okay, this is the business logic, this is how this thing is getting calculated, or
mhm,
oftentimes you will see that there are some projected numbers, but there is no equation that has been documented about those projections, that okay,
mhm,
this is from where they are coming from. So having that business logic documented as well, say just
mhm,
only yeah, that is also something that I will say that people need to start doing more. And around that I came to learn about a technique, it's called the data contract. So I don't know, like I came to learn about that only through my newsletter and some links which I
mhm,
come across. But I personally have not come across any team. I have not met any team who uses the data contract. But I came to learn
mhm,
it from some Netflix or some larger companies. They all, because they also have this kind of challenge. So that's how they started to use a data contract between their different team. That okay, these are the rules that we are going to follow, all of us. So
mhm.
yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I think I saw that somewhere. So we have a team in Spain, and they were
Hmm.
working on a forecasting project, inventory forecasting. So inventory is forecasting is a very big problem in retail industry, right? Because there's a lot of factors that plays a role in that forecasting, and so they're building out this whole project for that, and they documented really well the entire process from start to end. And the data contract is something that you're mentioning. That is something that they followed, right? They laid out the entire plan, let's say, like in a document about how are they going to solve this problem, what are the data that they're going to be using, how things are going to be, and all that stuff, right? Without that proper documentation, it's a no go, right? And I think that is something that I think one of my friends used to work at Amazon, and I think he was the one who mentioned that Amazon is very picky on that. Like Amazon, whenever they're trying to build a solution, they don't they don't jump right away into the implementation part. They spend a huge amount of time just writing out the documentations for it, right?
Yep.
Once they have that, then they start working on the problems. Yeah, I agree that not a lot of companies do that, and that is something that I think again comes back to what kind of leader you have, right? Um, who's running the team. Um, but yeah, I'm
Yep.
glad you mentioned that as well, and I'll put a link in the chat for. I've already put data development platform, but I also put a link in the chat for data contract if people want to learn more about it. Okay, so let's go back to about your consulting firm. I'm curious about how you started that. You know, tell us about how did you end up starting your consulting firm and like why consulting firm? Like I mean, because it's not easy to start a consulting firm and find clients
Yep.
like initially. So why did you decide to start a consulting firm and how did you end up there?
Yep. So as I mentioned, like this is more this was a newsletter only earlier, and then basically when I was like looking to get a do something more meaningful with career and do something more. than just like a day job. And that is when I really started to get serious into, say what kind of thing I would want to do. Like say if I have to just start up, and what is the type of thing that I can do. And that is that was also the duration when I was really getting into, learning more and more about what other people are doing and what all different things are happening in the industry. So I was more particularly interested to understand the use cases of the different technologies, right? So, and I also came to see that, just a few years ago there was not much data, right? There was not much
Mhm.
data, and in fact, just the data, it only belonged to the companies who were doing software correctly, right? So when you just see it from a higher level, you see that data is more of a product of the software only, because once you have software, they can capture the data and they can store the data, and that is how like the big data thing got started. But when LLM really came across, there was something very significantly different, because earlier people were not able to work with unstructured data much. So it was
Mhm.
mostly just a Tableau data, and people were using it for analytics, or they were using it to build, some very specific particular use case, say inventory forecasting, or credit risk, or demand forecasting. Those type of forecasting models are what people were doing with big data. But when the LLMs came across, and people had this ability to do more even with small data, right? So working with a LLM, we don't need a large amount of data. If we just say try to do our segmentation problem, say we need to just segment this into different classes, or we want to solve, say we want to generate data depending on some context. So this was a big change, like seeing that okay, now even with small data things are possible. Not everyone requires a large amount of data. So this was a big shift. This is like a clear shift. If you just try to get to the depth of it, this is something that was not possible just 3-4 years
Mhm.
ago. So this was a big shift, and that is when I wanted to get into the use cases, say what kind of thing that people would want to do with this. And people, specifically the companies, they don't want to do only the experimental stuff. They want to take things to production, because only
Mhm.
those have some kind of value, right? So then I started to also measure that okay, all of these people, nowadays, for every little thing, people will say that okay, AI can do this, right? Or somehow AI can augment it, or AI can help with this. But if you map the ROI, the okay, AI can do this, but what was the ROI? Say if you put in AI for this, then is it sensible, right? Is it also sensible from a dollar perspective, from a scalability perspective, and it should also be problem worth solving, right? When I
Mhm.
was looking at the intersection of all of these things, this picture started to came up that okay, this has to be more with the personalization. That any company, they have large amount of customer data now. Almost all of the companies have a CDP, customer data platform, and the best use of a customer data platform is to have a much deeper connection with the customer themselves.
Mhm.
Now a traditional way to do this is a traditional way, that you hire a large amount of team, and they sit on top of those information systems, and based on say what is the activity of customer, they talk to them, they solve their queries, they answer their queries. So customer service, sales, marketing, they're all consumers
Mhm.
of the CDP. But it doesn't have to be this way. And to give you example, like a very highlighting example is of Klarna. So Klarna is a company which cut down their workforce. They are around 5,000 people, which they trimmed down to around 3,800 recently, and they say that they can run their entire business with just 2,000 people. Why? And because they automated most of their customer service queries. They had a very large team in the customer service team, and only by using large language model, using the newly available AI technology, we were able to solve this problem. So when I see like this kind of thing, and my background into consulting, I came to this like conclusion that this type of thing a large number of companies would want to do, and not all of those companies would have their in-house capability, and they would also want to build a in-house capability for this type of thing. I mean that's why consulting exists, right? That it can spread out the knowledge, spread out the say the techniques to a larger industry group. So yeah,
Mhm.
that's basically the foundations that got me into defining this niche. And for this niche, I also created a course because I was learning more and more this into this area only. And
Mhm.
yeah, that's how I got into it. Now I think your question about how do you get clients and all, that's still a ongoing process. There are multiple strategies I myself want to use the personalization mechanisms only to do acquire clients and to do that kind of thing, bring more and more quality into the client acquisition process. So yeah, hope to see some results. But yeah, that's the story of the
Thanks for sharing the story. I'm putting in the chat the link to the course that Mayank is offering. I like I'm gonna be honest. I looked at the code and course. Went through a couple of videos. It's interesting that you're talking about the different applications of AI in different domains. So yeah, people are interested. Take a look at it. It's if you're new to the field of about um, consulting and let's say the applications of AI in different domains. Yeah, go check it out. It's not that long. I think it's how many hours is it? It's a 2 hours worth of video to watch. Um,
yep.
cool. So yeah, so you guys are starting out right now. But so yeah, I'm not gonna talk about the projects that you guys are working on right now because you're trying to find your initial clients. So I'm guessing you haven't worked on big projects as of yet. But what's the plan for the
Yep.
future? Like, what are you guys planning? How big of a team are you guys planning to have, and where's the future going for your consulting firm?
Yeah, so it we are planning like around to expand our offerings. First of all, like it's going to the clients. So the target now is to first of all work with five clients with a team size of around 30 people. So this is where we are getting into, and we have like the target clients in front of us. And basically we want to do slightly larger projects only, because say the client one of say I'll give you just one conversation. We were having a conversation and they said, okay, let's do a POC. Let's start with just with something very small. And to them what we pitch that let's not do the implementation again, coming back to the
Mm,
but how those companies operate as well, right? I told them that we should not just jump to implementation and directly that. Let's do because I see that your business, it doesn't have much of personalization. You have your customer data platform, but the emails which you send out, they are too infrequent, and they're just too much event triggered only. And there's no upsell cross sell that you're doing into your emails. There is no real that brand or relationship building that is not going on in your communications. So first of all, let's do a consulting project. So the offering right now is of two phases, say, and it depends on the client's maturity. So if
mhm,
the client is already a bit mature, then we would want to just pick up, that specific type of thing. Where okay, for you, we are going to work on your say card abandonment rate, right? Or maybe some other type of project, or or review the recommendation engine to make it better. But with a large number
mhm,
of clients that we see, they don't really have much of a system in place for personalization. It's like they just do that infrequent communication. They don't have that brand building type of thing going on. So with them, we do first of all with the consulting, wherein do the review of their business, review their system, review their data, and tell them that okay,
Mm-hmm.
all of this, the opportunity size that you have in front of you for personalization is this much larger, right? And it's not that we're telling them that okay, bring more data in or something. It's all
Mm-hmm.
based on their existing customer data platform. So this is the type of conversation that we are moving into. Say once we have that, that scope ready, that this is your outline, this is your potential here. With that, we would want to do like a larger project only with any client. So yeah, that's a general direction we're going into.
Okay, got it. Yeah. So in terms of like about team and about hiring, um, so I see that you're looking to hire a bunch of people, be it in marketing or UI or management side of things. So what is something that you let's specifically talk about that data side, right? So what is it that you look for in a employee or in a candidate that you want to hire for your consulting firm?
Yes. So three things. First of all, like energy. It has to be because I tell so many people that there was a point in all of our lives when we did not know, how much is two plus two, right? We learned that thing,
Mm-hmm.
and we built on top of that. And there are a lot of like data scientists out there who have not worked in personalization, who have say built a dashboard or did a like ETL project, or they just made some statistics, or they created some prediction model. So that's okay. We don't like focus just too much on the experience. We from the historical perspective, like their historical career, we want to see just the peak. What were your peaks, what are the things that you're proud of. But more so we see like for the energy that they bring in, and the clarity that they can bring into the process. Say if any question comes in, what is the kind of clarity that they put across. Even if they don't know, they have to tell it very clearly that okay, these are the things that I know, and these are the things that that I do not know. So yeah, energy, clarity, and just the peaks from the past experience. These are the three main things.
Right. And then are you looking for interns or are you looking to hire full time
It's a hybrid right
as of
now
now?
because
Mm-hmm.
yeah, how it works like in any startup, because say we are in conversation with the client, and unless something is properly defined. So once that get defined with a particular set of customers, then it will be much more standard, that okay, these are the full time role, and so. But right now it's more right now what we're doing, like with the recruit, with the interview process, we're trying to like build a relationship. We're trying to see that okay, these are the worthy candidate, because say when
Mm-hmm.
you hire in a startup, you want to hire people who would be, if even if some even if there are some difficult times, difficult months, they would want to be around at least. So we allow the flexibility
Mm-hmm.
to for them to take up other assignments, or explore their
Mm-hmm.
other career avenues. But we don't want people who just tap at the first sight of trouble. So that's the type of
Mm-hmm.
like candidate assessment that is going on right now. And in fact, like right now, we also work with couple people in a intern type of format,
Mm-hmm.
wherein like they can like have the other opportunities going as well, and they work with us as well. So yeah, it's more that. And I think very recently in like the near future, we want to turn a fraction of time into full time.
Mm-hmm. All right. So it's a paid internship, I'm guessing.
Yeah, we
Okay.
were paid only. And even for client, like there are some clients when we talk to, they say that okay, can you do some POC, can you show something. We do paid only.
All
It's
right.
we charge them from
Mm-hmm.
day one.
Nice. Yeah, glad to know. I'll put the link of Mayank's consulting firm in the chat as well, and this is going to be getting uploaded on YouTube, so I'll make sure to put all the links that I've shared here in the comment box, so people can go check it out. Um, so I don't have any questions, but if I want to see if Imran has any questions. If not, then I want to see if you have any questions for us, or if there's something that you want to share with the audience, to to help them in their journey into the data world, and how to stay motivated, and because I see a lot of layoffs that's happening, and it's not easy to get a job now than it used to be a few years ago. There's a lot of competition. So actually, one more thing that I wanna talk about is the different roles in data, right? So a lot of people get confused with the different roles that we have in the entire data domain. Um, do you want to break down the different roles and the responsibilities that falls into each of the categories? Maybe we can define that better so that people can understand it.
Sure. Yep. Okay. I think like first of all, just to start with, it largely depends. Like the role depends on how much time you've spent into the domain,
Mm-hmm,
and if this is easily 4 or 5 years of intensive experience, then I can definitely say that the expectation from that role is not that you will be able to write the code or something. It's more that you will be able to you know uh, see the data and tell them that okay, this is something that you're not doing, and you will be
mm-hmm,
able to do this from this data. So that is the expectation, like from a say senior type of person. And then things trickle down. Say once that is identified that okay, there is this data, and this is the business process that it can affect. So starting with that, right? So once that is defined, that okay, this is the problem statement that we are trying to solve, and this is the amount of data that we have, this is how it looks like, then there are multiple roles. Say if you're trying to do prediction, then you require knowledge into how do we build models. This is more like a
mm-hmm,
machine learning scientist type of role. Say they will define the loss function, what is the type of what is the type of model that we are going to use, what are the different type of features that we need to do, and does the data quality, is it sufficient for this type of model. So that is more like a data scientist type of role, working in the prediction type of environment. Now say we
mm-hmm,
started working onto this, right? When you start to do this, we often need to like take the data and bring it to like a different environment. So these are people who are into engineering type of domain, data engineer. They will take the data from somewhere, apply that necessary type of transformations, and they'll make sure that whatever is the data quality required, the data is present into that, and all of the necessary steps that need to be done in middle of that we need to fetch the data from somewhere else, join the data, make sure that this is of good quality, and all of that. So this is more like a data engineer type of role, and these are the two main type of people who work together on any type of prediction model, right? But
mm-hmm,
say there is a different scenario. You are not doing any prediction. Say you're just doing analytics. Say you got your data and you need to find out some kind of insight out of it so that we can create strategies or create rules or maybe report or we create some kind of standard report, right? So there is a overlap with the data engineer role as well, where they will make the necessary data available. But there two different roles also comes in. One is for visualization and second is for the analyst. So analysts are generally the people who have good understanding of the business, what are the type of KPIs they need to see, and say if you're in if you're in retail, you want to see orders, the average order size, and how many customers are from different geographies, how many of these customers are returning the order from all the different geographies, what is the ratio of your order to return, or what percentage of people are doing chargebacks. So analyst is someone who will, say that okay, these are the numbers I need to see, and they are the one who will generate this kind of insight, generate this type of analytics onto that data. Then there's a visualization engineer as well. It's not a very specialized role, but now it is becoming much more specialized. They will create the different type of dashboard on click on Power BI, on Tableau, standard reporting dashboard, or those type of things. So I see like generally these are the type of role. There's a leader, data engineer is there, data scientist, data analyst, and the visualization specialist. Broadly, these are the roles, and more, now there are more roles also coming up. People who are, large language model specialists, who are into prompt engineering. So yeah, couple other roles as well. But I guess this really is the books. You there, Mithun?
So sorry, I was on a mute. So saying, yeah, no, thanks for sharing about the different roles, right? And I think it's very important for people to understand the distinction between the different roles. I'm not sure how concrete it's applied in India, but at least in abroad, it's very concrete, right? People want to hire a data scientist, they'll only focus on the stuff that you've done as a data scientist, right? Now, if you're a data
Yep.
scientist and trying to get a role in machine learning engineering, it's difficult actually. Like I have few friends who were trying to go from data science to machine learning. And initially, he had a lot of rejections. Why? Because again, now the companies really know the distinction between the different roles. Before, a couple of years ago, companies didn't really care. You're a data
Yep.
scientist, well, you can do, you know, everything in just one. Our data scientists would be able to do everything, right? That's how things were a couple of years ago. But now companies really know the difference, and they have, in a company they have data scientists, but also they have ML engineers who do the deployment of ML ops and all that stuff, right? So no, thanks. Yeah, um, it's great that you have shared about the different roles and what they mean, right? Um, cool. Any last thoughts or anything that you want to share with the audience before we wrap this session up, or if you want to ask anything?
Yeah, I'll ask you like one thing, and it's like question back to you based on one question you asked me. I think I did not
Mm-hmm.
answer that. So the distinction in the product and the services, right? We could say people who are into data, they also work with very specialized type of tools as well. Earlier it was that you got Python, you got SQL, you're working with just with them. But now
Uh-huh.
it's more, say you're using data robot, you're using data bricks, or there are some
Uh-huh.
snowflake specialization as well. There's a large number of tools. So
Yeah.
what's your thing? So like how I like to think of it is, tool is like a stove. Say if you're doing a cooking, stove is your tool, but you are the cook,
Yeah.
right? So how do you balance? So you can have the best stove in the world, but if the cook is not good, then the food will not be good, right? So
Exactly.
that's
Yeah.
also the difference between a product company and a service company, right? So what we are trying to do, we are saying that okay, the stove already exists, and we want to be like the better cook to do it. But your thoughts into it, like product versus service.
Yeah. So that is something that I get contacted by a lot of people because I see that, in the data, a lot of people are building different platforms where they're focusing on, end to end, let's say, right? End to end, the full-fledged solution that the companies provide. Some people are providing a very specific area that okay, this is the thing that we are specialized in, and this is something that we can do for you, right? Um, but like in my company, like at Decathlon, because the company has to spend a huge amount of money, like why do we have in-house people if we want to spend, if we want to give the money to the other companies where they're providing this full solution, right? Well, we have in-house people, right? If we have in-house people, why not make them build such a solution at a lower cost, right? The in-house people
Yep.
can provide that service, right, rather than using someone else's product, and it could be cheaper, right? So there's this evaluation that we usually go through. We have it in place where we evaluate, okay, so right now that's exactly what's happening at Decathlon Canada. So Decathlon India is different. Decathlon India is, I'm not sure what they're doing over there, but here, Decathlon Canada, we are the AI team, but we have a lot of people. They're outsourcing a bunch of stuff. So marketing people, they have the set of analysis that they get it done by an external company. Then we have the finance people, we have the supply people, LLMs. There's actually a third party chatbot that we use, right? Even though we exist as an AI team, and that's because a lot of people in the company are not aware of the AI team, right? So this happens a
Yep.
lot if we work in a big organization, and you know because you are a data scientist, but the other person doesn't really know what you're capable of or what are the things that you can help with. Why? Because
Yep.
obviously they are not data scientists; they work in a different field, just like you wouldn't know about marketing, right? Um, so this happens a lot, right? So I think it's like conversation, communication, pretty
Mm.
important. Knowing what you can offer and what you can do, um, and that cost evaluation as well, right? And just like you said, tools are just there. Like tools will come and go. Like today, there's
Yep.
this one tool. Tomorrow that tool might not exist, and you have to move on to a different one, right? But at the end of the day, you need to know how to use that tool to make a very good use of it, to build something out of it, right? That is something that's on you, right? How creative you are.
Yep.
So I agree that having a skill set is much more valuable than just saying like, okay, I know this tool, I know that tool.
Exactly. Yeah.
So
And
that's
this
that's
is
mhm.
this is exactly what we take to the client. We tell them exactly that, I mentioned about that case study as well, the recent client conversation, right? So they have all the tools. They are like, what is the new thing that you're gonna do? And we tell them
All
that,
right.
you got all of your kitchen ready. We are the one who are going to
Hmm.
cook good things there.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. Right. That's one thing that I do. So whenever we hire, I take interviews and ask people if they know SQL. And SQL,
Hmm.
yeah, everyone would say that they know SQL, right? Why? Because there's not much in SQL, right? I mean, there's what, 10, select, where, join, blah, 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 right? There's just some things that you need to know, right? Which you can even,
Yeah.
if I ask you in sleep, you'll be able to tell me. But how do you actually write a query to solve a business problem? There's a
Yeah.
lot of thoughts that goes into that, right? There's a lot
Hmm.
of creativity and thoughts that goes into how do you use all of that 10 different keywords to put together as a query to solve a business problem. And on top of
Yep.
that, how do you validate the solutions, right? Like you
Yep.
wrote a query to extract something out, but then how do you know that whatever you extracted, that thing is correct,
Hmm.
right? So
Right.
that's exactly the thing, right? Knowing that, oh, I know AWS, I know GCP. Yeah, but how can you make a very good use of it, right?
Exactly.
And keeping in mind the cost, right? Because you're building, like a lot of people say build pipelines on AWS or GCP or Azure, right? But they never think about the cost
Hmm.
that the company is paying for, right?
Exactly.
And then when you become a leader, you actually realize that, oh shit, we are spending as a team, we are spending this huge amount of money. The budget goes into this. How can we, you
Yeah.
know, how can we bring that down? What can we do? Right? So I
Exactly.
completely agree. Yeah.
Yep. So nice, Mithil. I think it was like pretty good conversation with you. We broadly covered on all of I think mostly from the career perspective. So I think it will be good for audience who we have, I think, in the group as well and on your platform, on your channel as well. So yeah, nice, great talking to you. Any like follow up and any ending question, something?
Thank you. Thank you. I just want to say, thanks for taking time out and for being here and sharing your thoughts and providing us a lot of insights. I think it's definitely sure it's going to be useful to the audience, and hopefully we'll work together in future and come up with something for the audience. And I wish you luck for your consulting firm, and hopefully it'll grow. And someday maybe someone from our audience will get a chance to work with you guys
Yeah,
on your
for sure.
projects. Yeah,
That is why we are on your show. We definitely want to, hear back from people, talk to people more, because we are into, like it's a longer term journey. So definitely there's going to be crossing of roads. So, yep, nice catching up with you for this first time. Let's
yeah,
do something in future as well. Okay.
for sure,
Thank
for
you
sure. Yeah,
so much.
thank you.
Yep.
And yeah, and thanks, Umbra, for joining us and staying in the session from start to end. Hopefully, you've
Yeah.
learned something as well. Yeah. Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you,
Thank you,
guys.
bro. Thank you.